Hello, my name is Tim Johnson, and I am pleased to be here tonight to participate in this well-deserved recognition for my friend Eva Paterson. I don't want to go back and really talk very much about the things that you've already heard about. Eva's leadership at Northwestern as a student, her debate with Spiro Agnew, and her long career in civil rights, employment rights, and human rights in California over the last 50 years. But what I want to do is focus on my memories and my friendship with Eva Paterson that dates to 1966, and talk about kind of things that inform who I think she is as a person and why I'm not at all surprised that she's receiving the Thurgood Marshall Award tonight. As I said, I knew Eva Jefferson at the time, so excuse me if I go back and forth between Eva Jefferson and Eva Paterson. But I met Eva in 1966 when we were on the same speech and debate team in a high school in Southern Illinois. And that speech and debate team was involved with debate. And interestingly enough, the debate topic in 1966, 1967 was resolved: we should end United States foreign assistance, which certainly is topical today and something that we're still arguing about. And you know, everything is old is new, and everything that's new is old. Um, and so I think that already Eva's international and global perspective was honed by arguing over and over again in favor of international foreign assistance from the United States, was certainly consistent with our values as young people living on a military base in 1966, 1967. But more importantly, Eva was also on the speech team, and I think I heard her deliver Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech literally hundreds of times, because that was the speech that she used to basically go around the state of Illinois to all the speech and debate tournaments, and obviously saying it over and over again. It became part of who she was and who she went on to be very shortly thereafter. Um, so we all in 1966 had a dream. It was a very disruptive time, and those times were very similar to times today, with turmoil on campus, turmoil that was determined by race, turmoil that was determined by issues of human rights, and obviously turmoil that was determined by international affairs as well. And so it's been interesting, I'm sure, for Eva and for me to compare 1966, 1967 with 2024. We lived in an environment where race was a major issue, where global engagement was an important issue, and at a time of assassinations. This was just very few years after the assassination of John Kennedy that basically shocked the country, and was the time of the assassination of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and other prominent people. And this I think all of us at that age of 17, 18, 19 years old, the idea that people would be assassinated was certainly foreign. This was something that happened in the 1860s, not in the 1960s. Um, but I want to talk a little bit about kind of Eva and who she was in 1966. Obviously, she was involved in speech, involved in debate. She was very bright. Um, she'd grown up in the military, and in many ways, the military is an egalitarian space. She went to integrated schools, I think, pretty much through all her career, and like most of us, every 3 years she moved from one city to the other. So she had a lot of social and cultural experiences around things that we now recognize as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in many ways, in the military, race was not a big issue. Um, but she was obviously gendered. She was obviously black in an environment where very few people were black. And the military also has a marked class distinction between officers and the children of officers and enlisted people and children of enlisted people. And in our high school, you could kind of tell what class people were from based on which buses they came from, because the officers lived on one side of the base and enlisted people lived on the other side of the base. So there were multiple identities that people had across gender, across race, across kind of who their father was and what their father's rank was in the military. And those multiple identities really determined who all of us were. Um, the moves, obviously, that Eva made influenced her. The integration that she experienced, but also these other disparities that was very evident in the schools. Um, in our class, many of the people, because of their military experience and their parents went to colleges all around the country, but about half of the boys in our graduating class were dead within 5 years of graduation because they went to Vietnam. So, if you went to college, you were safe. If you didn't, you went to Vietnam and often died as a result. So the military obviously had a big impact on Eva and who all of us were. The other thing is that it was very much the Midwest. Mascoutah, Illinois, which is the high school we went to, was a community of about 2,000 people and a high school that was federally impacted that had about 600, 700 students. So the high school was almost as big as the town where the high school was. And so it was very much of an anomaly, and we were lucky because we had really great teachers, but it also was farm country and was very, very conservative, but it was the Midwest. And even though Eva spent the last many years of her life in California, her values are not only military values, but also Midwestern values. She went to high school in the Midwest, and obviously those are very formative years for all of us. And she went to college at Northwestern. So basically, Midwestern values are something that many of us share, that she and I still share. People talk about Midwestern nice and Midwestern values, and certainly Eva demonstrated those in spades. Um, the other thing is that Eva had great empathy because of who she was and who she'd grown up to be, and her strong family values. She was very devoted to her parents and to her siblings. We obviously most all of us had great respect for our parents and especially for our fathers, because it was mostly our fathers who were in the military at the time. And for me, I was a 16-year-old kid who moved to Mascoutah, Illinois after going for my first 3 years in high school in Stockholm, Sweden. And so we moved from Stockholm and the excitement of living in an amazing cosmopolitan European city to Mascoutah, Illinois, and I was pretty unhappy about that. And 16-year-olds, as most of you know, can be pretty unhappy with their life and their parents, and that was certainly magnified for me. But Eva was one of the people who embraced me and was always nice to me and always made me feel welcome. And the fact that I was able to be integrated quickly into a speech and debate team and travel around the state, uh, both doing debate but also listening to disclamatory speaking like Eva's, and I recited poetry, and so we really had wonderful support and a wonderful group of teachers who worked with us and a wonderful group of friends, and we're still on internet today. But Eva always had great personal values and great kindness, and so it's no surprise to me that she went on to Northwestern, where she became an activist, where she became involved with the Black Action Movement, where she became involved with student government. And she was never a radical. She was always talked about, nonviolence and peaceful protest, and very much carried on the values of Martin Luther King, and has done that throughout her entire career as a lawyer. So it's a great pleasure for me, coming from an entirely different field, to look at Eva Jefferson and to be very proud that number one, I knew her when, and that number two, the values that I saw when we were 16, 17 years old, she continues to manifest in her day job, in the work that she does for justice, for equity, for human rights. I love Eva Jefferson Patterson. I'm glad that she was in my life. I'm glad that she was in the life of our country and for the contributions that she's made. And I want to congratulate her tonight on this well-deserved honor and hope that you'll understand that who she was as a 16, 17, 18-year-old and who she was as a college student very much informed who she is today and why she's receiving this award. Congratulations, Eva.
Good evening. My name is Karen Van Slyke. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce you to my good friend, Eva Paterson. Eva and I met in the fall of 1967 at Northwestern University. There aren't many people who have sustained a friendship for over 60 years, and I am so grateful that we have. For over 6 decades, I have found joy in Eva's personal warmth and her infectious laugh. Her superpower is her ability to communicate weighty and important topics simply and directly. Even when you are part of a large group, you feel that she's speaking to you personally, compelling you to think deeply and to take action. Her commitment to justice has been my lifelong inspiration. Eva and I met in our freshman dorm and bonded over being both political science majors and aspiring lawyers. Spoiler alert, only one of us did, and she did it so brilliantly that you have chosen to honor her tonight. Given our interests, we both became part of the campus student government that did ordinary college student government things. But the 1960s and 70s were not ordinary times. In 1968, Black students were responding to racial equality issues that were sweeping the country. At Northwestern, where there were relatively few Black students, the need for change was compelling. As a sophomore, Eva was part of Black students on campus that were called B100. They had presented the administration with a series of demands to counter systemic racism on our campus. When the administration failed to respond, the students occupied an administration office until their demands were met. To this day, the changes that B100 made at Northwestern still have an impact, and the actions of B100 are memorialized in official campus publications and documents. One of my favorite memories from that period was a picture that a news photographer took of one of our friends handing something to Eva through the window of an administration office. The caption when the picture was published was something to the effect of "White student hands object to Black student radical." This sensationalist caption belied the fact that our dorm mate was simply handing Eva her tennis racket in case she needed to leave the occupation early to get to her phys ed class. Eva's leadership on campus was acknowledged when she became the first African-American student body president in 1960. While that would not be extraordinary today, those of you who are old enough to remember those times can only marvel that a predominantly white student body at Northwestern would elect a Black woman as our student government president. That was a testament to the extraordinary respect that Eva had earned on our campus. But no one could expect that she would become the leader that we needed at NU and the voice of students nationally when students were killed at Kent State University and at Jackson State protesting the Vietnam War. Beginning on May 4th, 1970, and for weeks that followed, colleges were shut down with a national student strike against both the Vietnam War and the massacre of college students. I can still remember one night when 5,000 of us gathered on the major common area on campus. We were outraged and we were frustrated with our government's pursuit of the war. Some students were intent on destroying the ROTC building on campus. Everyone hung on Eva's words as she addressed us and entreated us to embrace the nonviolence right there that we sought in the world. Her empathy and her wisdom calmed the situation down that night. But equally importantly, She led the student body to use the time during the student strike to engage with the broader community outside the campus to discuss our opposition to the war and its impact on both Americans and on Vietnamese people. All of this earned her the reputation nationally as the peaceful warrior, and she got local and national press attention as a student spokesperson. She even debated then Vice President Spiro Agnew on the David Frost TV show. Poor Spiro. He didn't even know what hit him, as she shamed him on national television for attacking college students for standing up for their beliefs. Her amazing legacy from our college years has been featured in segments of Ken Bird's series on Vietnam. But as it turned out, this would only be the first act for my friend Eva Paterson and her amazing journey as a national leader for peace and for justice in our country. Thank you.
Eva Jefferson Paterson has been an unfailing tribune for true justice, freedom, and equality for over 50 years. As early as 1969, when she was the first African-American president of Northwestern University's Associated Student Government, she was a calming and relentless voice for just solutions in the midst of numerous volatile situations that beset the university at that moment. First off, there was the Indochina War and a generalized student concern about being drafted and becoming cannon fodder in a war that they knew the country could not win. There was also an elevated social temperature on campus that had been precipitated by white antagonism to the sudden increase of Black students, going from 2 or 3 in 1965 to over 100 in 1969, and to the Afro-American students' exposure of the university's role in teaching torture techniques to the Bureau of State Security agents from apartheid South Africa. Eva's calm and relentless intervention into these fraught circumstances foreclosed on them being resolved in a violent manner. She brought that same calm and resolve to her debate with Vice President Spiro Agnew on the Davis Frost program a year later in 1970. Graduating from Boat Hall Law School at the University of California, Berkeley, did not diminish her determination to make her native country a fairer and more just place. Her passion for fairness propelled her anti-discrimination suit against the San Francisco Fire Department and her co-founding of the Equal Justice Society, one of the country's most undaunted legal civil rights organizations. Today, Eva Jefferson Paterson stands as a beacon of hope for her home state of California and for the country at large. She is a model that young legal scholars and litigators would do well to emulate. Consequently, I strongly affirm her award of the Thurgood Marshall Award. Consequently, I concur with her being awarded the Thurgood Marshall Award by the ABA.
While there are no words that can truly and fully encompass Eva's contributions to our country, to our profession, to the cause of civil rights and human rights, there are a few words that I always think of when I think of her, and in fact, every time I see her. And these to me are the words that are essential words in describing a true leader. You'll recognize them: heart, guts, tenacity, patience, wisdom, energy, and joy. And I know that Eva exemplifies and personifies each and every one of these words, even in the hardest of times and the darkest of days. And that is one reason why I have every faith that we have as a future, as a people, as an inclusive, welcoming, and hospitable country with liberty and justice for all of us. I know this will occur because Eva has been here, she will be here, she exemplifies and personifies the best of the spirit of American lawyers and of civil rights activism. Thank you, Eva, 1,000 times.
Eva Paterson has been a civil rights leader in Northern California and a good friend of mine for many decades. And I would say her greatest strength is her ability to bring people together, people of divergent views, people who are like-minded, but she just has a beautiful way of knowing when and how to bring people together to deal with an issue or just in times of need. And so it was no surprise to me when she contacted a group of us about forming a band in 2017. This was late 2017, really to provide some joy and some music and some dancing for the civil rights community, which was going through a difficult time given the political mood of the country, along with many other people. The band has now really become a group that raises money for causes and groups and people that we believe in. And so it's become an extension of the civil rights community in many ways in Northern California and now in Chicago. So it's just been part of her effort, and we really appreciate what she did on that front, along with many other fronts. And so I want to thank her and congratulate her on getting this prestigious award from the American Bar Association. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that I have nothing but respect for our friend Eva Paterson. She's one of the most passionate, dynamic people that I know, completely dedicated to the community. And when I say that, the community of people that rich and poor, of different colors, of different sexual orientations, I've seen Eva there for everyone. I have a few memories. One just about 7, 8 years ago, when she joined me on stage for a fundraiser for undocumented students. And she was one of the featured singers at the event for what we call UndocuFest here in the Bay Area. And she sang just a heartfelt, glowing rendition of Marvin Gaye's song, What's Going On? And that was a memorable event for me, where I accompanied her on that song. And fast forward just a couple of years, at an Equal Justice Society event, she asked me if I would accompany her on the same song, which I did. And what was amazing was at that event, the congressman from Texas by the name of Al Green actually joined us on stage. And it wasn't Al Green, the famous singer, but it was Al Green, the congressman. And so we often joke with each other that we had a chance to perform What's Going On with the one and only Al Green. But joking aside, I've known Eva for several years now, and many, many years, going back 30 years. And one of the first things, one of my important memories of Eva was when she was the head of the Lawyers Committee. She reached out to me as an immigrant rights person, and she realized that on her own staff, there was misunderstanding and a divide between the African American community and the migrant community here in the Bay Area. And she wanted to make sure that her approach to that issue was sound. And so she invited me to meet with her staff at a retreat to talk about to clear up some misunderstanding and tensions, to provide social and demographic information about migrants that were coming to the Bay Area and how they are not the enemy of the African American community, and that we're all in this together. And when each community succeeds, we all succeed. And that was the message that she wanted me to help bring to her staff. I also remember there was battles over the quality of education in San Francisco in different public high schools. And for many, many years, the high school that many students aspire to attend is Lowell High School in San Francisco. It's known as the academic high school. And we had a serious conversation with the head of Chinese for Affirmative Action at that time over the affirmative action program for Lowell High School. And that conversation, I'll never forget what Eva said, and she was so spot on, that this isn't a debate about who gets to attend one high school. In fact, this is a debate about providing quality education to all children of San Francisco enrolled in public schools. And it's not just about one high school, and that we should keep our eyes on the prize, which is to push for quality education for all children at every high school. So nothing but the best and most respectful memories that I have of Eva, and I enjoy playing with her in the Coolarators, and I hope that we're able to continue that for many, many more years to come. So congratulations, Eva. I'm with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I met Eva about 35 years ago when I was a young lawyer, and I started working at the Lawyers Committee's pro bono night, where I was able to work at a large firm, but then do what I love best, and sort of marry those two. And she embraced me immediately, and got me involved in so many other activities. I became a member of A6, which stood for African American Attorneys Against American Apartheid, which was a group to support and provide legal advice for those folks who were involved in the post-Rodney King verdict demonstrations. I also, one of my fun things that we did together was to start looking at the possibility of reparations for African Americans, and we went so far as developing briefs that went to the Ninth Circuit. And it was a great opportunity for me to continue doing my defense work, but also marry in civil rights activities. She also tagged me to be one of the co-founders of the Equal Justice Society, and I got to sit at the kitchen table as as many of us got together to create this wonderful organization that she eventually became the executive director of after she left the Lawyers Committee. Eva also, found my love of books, and she sponsored me in our reading group, a reading group of African American professional women that have been going strong for 41 years, and she sponsored me over 27 years ago. And so that's one of the fun things that we do together, and it's actually opened doors for me just in terms of strong friendships with women in the Bay Area once I moved here. It's been just such a ride with her, and she fulfilled one of my bucket lists when she invited me to join the Coolarators, and I got to do a bucket list check off because I'm a background singer. Now, most people say I never know which note I'm on. I get on any note, but I have a lot of fun doing it, and that's because of Eva, and we have a great fun with the band, the Coolarators. So the dream of being a background singer for an R&B Motown cover band has just been wonderful these last 6 years. The other thing is that we share a weird and unusual fascination with keeping each other up to date on the deaths of celebrities. There are only maybe two other people that tolerate me sending them text messages, letting them know the latest person who just died. And we share that because we also are big fans of pop culture. We sit and we riff off of each other on sort of inane facts that we both have loved and grown accustomed to being really associated with. And so that's something that I'm not surprised, if I get a text message from her letting me know that someone died, or I send her a text. Just yesterday, she sent me a text about the death of Bill Cobb, and then we talk about that person for a while back and forth in text. Because that is part of our, pop culture big thing. And we also are big fans of British mystery thrillers on BritBox and Acorn. So we share those titles with one another, often texting at 1:00 in the morning, say, you've just got to watch this series. Those are all the fun things about Eva that probably many people don't know, because it's a side that folks don't see, because you see her out there championing the rights for us as a civil rights advocate, following along the steps of Thurgood Marshall. But the other thing is that, she is seriously committed. And she, even now that she's retired, she's working really hard on trying to educate people on why we must make sure that Biden returns to the White House in 2024. So I know I don't have a lot of time, but I definitely wanted to say congratulations, Eva. You've been my mentor. I'm so glad you're receiving this award. I look forward to spending this time singing with you in Chicago, and then future of laughing together, because we do laugh very well together, her and I. And one of the, I guess, monikers that I'm most proud of is that she frequently calls me her little sister. And that's a real pleasure, and it's a gem. So one of the things that I always think about Eva is that she taught me the fine art of including everyone's voice in the room, and to make sure that everyone is heard no matter what the circumstances. It started off sort of learning about asking people, oh, let's do a self-crit. And sometimes I know I'm kind of skeptical of the concept, but I always hear Eva's voice in my head when I'm in a meeting, when it's really important to include everyone's voice. And that's what she taught me. I love her. And again, I congratulate her on receiving this award.
Eva, you are watching this video and hearing so many accolades for what you have done. And this on the occasion of your retirement, which we've already celebrated. But as I have always said to you, we do not retire. We rewire. The best is all ahead of you, my dear friend, and we are excited at the prospect. As our young brother Donny Hathaway said, hold on to the world as it spins around. Just don't let the spin get you down. Things are moving fast. Hold on tight and you will last. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. You've done so much to make that a truth and a fact. Keep on going. We love you.